Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This is going to be a book review over Autobiography with Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. It's my very first book review, so I'm not really sure how this is going to work out, but bear with me and we'll just get into the story. Introduction to the story, the book. So basically, the book is an autobiography of Paramahansa Yogananda. His birth name was, I believe, Mukunda Ghosh. It's So he was born in India in the 1800s, and then he was given a mission to bring Eastern philosophy of Kriya to the United States, or to the West, specifically to the United States, at the advisory of Mahavatar Babaji in the Himalayas. So that's the basic story. He was a yogi, and by yogi, I'm not talking about our Western idea of what yoga is, like the asanas, the postures and the stretches and all that stuff. I'm sure he did that, but for in the East, yoga is more of a holistic, total. It's more of like a science, so to speak, how the body works. And so you do breath work, energization work, poses, all really for the purpose of deepening your meditation to become for self-realization. And that's like the very core of his teachings of yoga and kriya, is self-realization, becoming one with God and becoming one with all that there is. And so it was an amazing book because I didn't really know too much about it, because when I first got into, I guess, spirituality, these types of books weren't really being talked about. It was more of like the secret conversations with God, all like the Kabbalah, all of these like mysticism sort of things, or Gnosticism, all of these mysticism ideas, spirit. So I didn't really know too much about it I didn't even know who Paramahansa Yogananda was until I discovered Swami Kriyananda back this fall, and he talked a lot about him. But still, I didn't even know about the book until I guess it was still in the fall, but I didn't get around to reading it until recently. So the way I read it was a little bit different. I bought it on Kindle, or for free on Kindle Unlimited, and I read the very beginning, and then I found out that Swami Kriyananda actually narrated the audiobook. And because I'm such a fan, since I really enjoy Swami Kriyananda's work and his promotion and his promotion of Yogananda's efforts. And I also just love listening to his voice when he's older. It's weird. I can listen to it all day. But I listened to it on audiobook on Audible, and Swami Kriyananda really captures the essence of, at least for me, the essence of like how Yogananda was trying to like portray his life, like his vocal intonations and all that stuff. So that's just a quick way of saying that if you haven't listened to the audiobook and you enjoyed reading it, I highly recommend that you listen to the audiobook. So before I close out this book review, I want to talk about some of the bizarre parts in the book, my favorite parts in the book, the movie of Paramahansa Yogananda, and then also concluding with that. So the most bizarre parts, or some of the bizarre parts, I won't talk about everything because I don't want to like spoil the book for you. But some of them I was reading and I was just like, what? Like, how is this even possible? So I would say that the very beginning of the book, it was interesting because I believe it's Lahiri Maharashaya, like materializes his body like in like the first chapter, just like in a field or something. And it was pretty deep stuff. Like, I mean, you have to take it for what it's worth, but I believe everything in this book wholeheartedly. I trust Swami Kriyananda. I trust Paramahansa Yogananda. Something on a deeper level tells me that all of this stuff is true, so I believe it. Whether or not it's true or not, I think you should just take the story. So those are some of the bizarre parts. There was a story of where there was a girl who hadn't eaten for like some insane amount of years, and she looked like perfectly healthy. It was just stories like that were just like a lot of like miraculous things that gurus help their devotees to, like health wise and like things like that. So my favorite parts of the book probably would have to deal with funny, just like the internal struggles that Mukunda had, or Yogananda had throughout his life, because he was so close to his mother and his mother died, and he just really wanted to find a guru so that he could, fulfill his mission. He didn't really know what that mission was at the time, and this book was great because when I first heard about Yogananda, I just kind of like put him on a pedestal as like a person who I could never really. I mean, I looked up to him in his life and his stories and his writings and his teachings, but it was almost kind of like I could only aspire to that. I could never. It wasn't possible for me to actually get there because he just seemed like at such a different level than most people. It just seemed out of touch. But when you read his stories, like he was just a normal person. He dealt with all these things that most, everyone has dealt with, loss, pain, betrayal, and just almost losing hope. But he was able to transcend all those things and put his trust in something greater than himself, and which allowed him to self-realize and be like, hey, this is all, Maya, which is very hard to do. So, but my favorite parts were that and his interactions with his guru, Swami Shri Yukteswar. It just seemed like there was some connection between those two. It was so beautiful. It was like I think they described it as like a father and son. But it seemed like it was just so deep, and I love how the guru cares for the devotees and he sees them as his own children, and sometimes even more so than that. Whatever, I don't know how much deeper you can go, but it was just like, I don't know, I just loved the interactions with him. I loved the emotions that he showed. Even when he was, after meditating for like 10 hours per day and all that stuff, he was still very humble, and he always kind of like want to make sure that was first. And again, kind of grounding Yogananda to earth, making him more of like a real person as opposed to like some ethereal person who I can never be like. Like I said, he had been meditating his entire life, hours per day, but when his guru died, he just was like a wreck. Like, I mean, he was crying, he was weeping, and it was just like, man, this person who's such a great person, who's so even-minded, so a person who I want to aspire to be like, was once like me, and that gives me hope that, his teachings are true, because, he wants, people to aspire to self-realization, regardless of whatever your world view is, religious view is. All these can be incorporated into self-realization. And reading this book and learning more about Yogananda and the Ananda Worldwide Organization and Self-Realization Fellowship, that was kind of like the spark, or not spark, but the nail in the coffin. I was like, yeah, I need to start practicing Kriya, because that seems to be the quickest way to, not the quickest, but the way that resonated with me the most to go forward for self-realization. And it was such a, it's a really interesting process. I enjoy it. I'm still new at it, obviously, but it's something I really enjoy doing. So lastly, I want to talk about the movie Awake, which is kind of like an autobiography of, it's a movie of the book, pretty much. And if you haven't seen that movie, you can watch it for free on YouTube. It's like an hour and 30 some minutes. It's really good, and it kind of like paraphrases Autobiography of a Yogi, and it has good video clips, because Yogananda was on this earth like in 1800s and early 1900s. Cinematography wasn't all that great, so there aren't too many like photographs and good videos of him. However, in that documentary, there are a lot of good photos and audio clips and things like that. So it's really good if you want to check that out. So to end, I highly recommend this book. I even more so recommend the audio version if you are into that sort of thing, because you can, read it when you're, you can read the actual physical book when you're at home or whatever. But if you're out walking or you're on driving, listen to the audio book. I think it brings a whole nother dimension to the book itself. So that was good. And lastly, I'm almost finished. I've like 2 more chapters in this book, Essence of the Bhagavad Gita. So I'll be doing a book review on that pretty soon, as well as a few other ones that I'm hopefully will get through. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Much love.